I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. Standing room only, this is great. Lots of participation. We had a great meeting last time, and hopefully we'll have another one just like that where everybody will be respectful. All comments will be, including the board, will be brought through the chair to the board, and the board will conduct its business. And thank you for the nice write-up in the picture.
It was nice.
We ready for roll call?
Give
Yes.
credit where credit's due, right?
Kaiser,
Oh, we're sweet today. Yes, I'm here.
Klein,
Here? Yes.
and Freeman. Yes, okay. The agenda is not entirely correct. So I'll move that we adopt the agenda with add $5,000 to elections be eliminated. And with that eliminated, I move we adopt the agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second to adopt the agenda with the one deletion. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, done. Motion passed. Okay, we have public comments up front. Sylvia Dart.
First of all,
Hi, Sylvia.
I attended the potluck for the volunteers on Saturday, and I want to thank Rick for putting that together. We've got a tremendous amount of people in this community that care about the community, and they want good things to happen. And I'd like to see that momentum continue. But I was disappointed. I didn't see many board members there. And I think that would help get more people involved too. That's the first thing. The second thing is I want to praise Jay for the job that he does in the park. Kathy and I are part of the garden club, and we do the flowers, and he has just been such a great support. That place is clean. We've had a couple from Lewiston stop by and talk to us and say, I wish Lewiston would take some notes from what's happening in your community. And that's the kind of thing that we want. So thank you, Jay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. Kat?
Hi, you stole my thunder.
Oh, I was first.
Yeah, this is true. Actually, it's not stealing thunder or anything. I was going to talk about the potluck as well, which was Saturday. And again, I was a little disappointed in the lack of participation from our board. It's been talked about, it's been put on Facebook. We had one board member there, our trustee Rick. A lot of work went into it. We had a lot of people, a lot of great food, and I've been here a whole year as of this month. So it's my 1 year anniversary, and I met a lot of new people. Saw a lot of new faces. It's not the same old faces, although there were a few there that I did know. So it was nice to have that, but I agree that if the board would participate, it was an apolitical event. It was just everybody coming together for some community together. It was fun. And we got to eat great food. So I would like to see you guys participate. I think it shows we're trying to support the township. Support us as well. I mean, I know what you guys do, and I appreciate what you do being on the board, but not everybody comes to these. And to see you out there supporting what we're trying to do would be great.
Well, I saw you doing a lot of organizing on that. I, for one, do not do potlucks.
That's fine.
I don't. It's just a personal thing. I don't do it. Okay? But
I appreciate all your work for doing that. I saw you organizing it and registering dishes online, and for those that enjoy them, I'm happy for you. But I don't do potlucks. If you have another kind of social gathering, I will come.
We are, right after Elk Fest.
Okay.
Mr. Supervisor, there was another event that day too, at the fairground.
Thank you.
But
Kathy,
I'm glad you had a good time.
Thank you, Kat.
Oh, you're welcome.
I've got an excuse too, but I'll tell you.
I don't wanna hear it, no.
Mine's not an excuse, it's a point of view.
Sure, that's fine.
Kathy Kowalski.
You're gonna ask me now.
Sure.
Okay, I again want to commend Jay for his hard work. I think it's wonderful that we can go and the restrooms are open when they're supposed to be open and you don't have to wonder that they're not going to be. I've never seen the park be weed whacked and mowed and taken care of so nicely. Jay offered before, if we needed hoses, he would try to find hoses. It's the first time that I've had someone from the board actually come up to me and see if there was anything that they could do to help us in all of our time out there doing watering and stuff for the town. And I know that we're volunteers, but it was nice to know that someone that works for the township was out there willing to help us out. So I have to commend him on that. My other question would be, at this point, we are dragging hoses, actually 4 100-foot hoses around the different areas of the park to do the watering. It takes us approximately 3 hours twice a week, unless the good Lord is kind enough to help us out there a little bit. But I have a question that if the funds became available to fund an irrigation system for doing the park at no cost to the township, would the board be willing to approve that?
Sure.
Sure, I would anyway, yeah.
All right, we'll see what we can do.
Thank you. For the ones on the street, the chamber uses the barrel on a wagon.
Have you ever tried to use a barrel on a
I
wagon?
have.
It's
Yes,
heavy.
I have.
It's heavy.
Yes, it is, and I have. And I got Mark Carradine to help me. He's a strong young man.
Yeah,
So-
it definitely takes a strong young man to help.
Yes.
Us older ladies, I gave up on it because it
Or
was
more
just too heavy to
mature lady.
pull it and do it.
And some days it was
Okay,
just too
mature.
hard to be out there lugging.
But it was very
90-degree
nice,
weather.
very nice of the chamber to provide that for us. We're not knocking that. It's just that it's a little too much work for us.
If there's that much, while it's fresh and you don't want to add to the agenda, does someone want to make a motion right now to support that?
To support the irrigation system?
But
Yes, if
the
they
request
pay
is
for
in
the
your irrigation system.
Or if the town comes up with a way to fund it and install it, and whether or not we would allow it to be installed somehow.
I want to ask Karen Boyce to see if she can find something. She works with grants a great deal and flips grants forward to me, and I flip them forward to the chamber and other
So
people.
we're looking for a motion.
So I'll ask her if there's something
We'll
out there
just
that
take
would
care of it.
Come and write it.
Well, and it would
We
be
appreciate
even
it.
nice in the meantime, if you have hoses available that were there, where we could make use of them, and we didn't have to keep loading them and unloading them to bring them to do the watering in the meantime, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, 'cause they're heavy. I was doing that at the VFW.
Yeah, 400-foot hoses we use, so it's a lot to haul.
In the meantime, maybe get you some of those retractable babies.
They rupture in about 2
Yes.
minutes.
I was gonna
They
say, they
do.
don't last very
They
long.
don't
I
really need the thick one.
You know, especially when you have to drag them,
I don't know what you
because
wrote.
they're kind of a cloth-like, and they get all frayed
Motion
out.
to
and they make-
That's
allow
nice to know, because I was
irrigation
tempted to get
system
one. They
in the
look
park
handy and dandy.
if funds
Yeah.
become
Well, maybe
available.
for your
They
house,
fail.
it wouldn't be bad, but
That's
maybe
right.
dragging across the park
They don't
didn't work there either, huh?
mess.
Okay, Mary made the motion to allow an irrigation system to be installed
Should be acquired
Funds
funds.
available.
without township funds, if the garden club would work on that and allow it, at least guide it Eric and everybody, and you'll have to have mistakes and all that good stuff to make sure we're not cutting through everything, but I think we can be able to put everything together. Is there
I
support
would
for Mary's
second
motion?
investigating that.
That's fantastic.
Nancy seconded it. Is there any more discussion on that? So while it's fresh. These are wonderfully positive things. I just want to thank you once again. Everything looks great. I think the town looks great. No, hearing no discussion, and we're not spending any money. I think we can just have a regular vote here. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Water them points. Mr. Lamore.
Well, I'm not quite as nice today. Everybody's got all these wonderful accolades for everything, and I appreciate everything that's being done. Jay, you do a nice job, you really do, and the water, the flower ladies, and you guys, the garden club, yeah, absolutely phenomenal. I love it every year to go out and see them all. But credit card expenditures, I've asked on more than one occasion that this board show us what these credit card expenditures are for. We still don't have anything that even says it on the disbursements. The only thing it gives us is the amounts. They should be right there for everybody to see. I'd like to know what's being spent and where it's being spent and who's spending it. So that would be nice. What's the carryover balance in the fund that you took that $15,000 on? I'd love to know that because I didn't know we had that much money in the carryover from last year. The account number was 101-215-57956. So if you guys can find that sometime after the meeting, that would be wonderful. I know Ed and you found it very quickly, Bruno, when you had it in the meeting, so I'm sure it will be found again in the balance sheets. I'd love to know what's in there. The park fund, I'm not understanding how you're paying the people that work in the park, Eric and Harley and everybody that works down there, if you have no money in the park fund. If you're not having it from there, when did you decide to put it into the general fund? And how come you still don't have a park fund?
There's no millage.
Pardon?
There's no millage for the park, so it has to come out of the
Doesn't have to have a village.
So everything
You
comes out of the
simply don't
general.
have any money in it. I'm just asking where you're getting the money from to pay these people.
Because we
Coming out of
didn't budget for it, is the question.
Coming out of the general fund?
Thank you.
I'll have to look at the budget, but I'll get with you on that. Yeah, it has to come out of the general fund.
Okay. I think more importantly, I'll skip over all this stuff and I'll go straight to this. The memorandum we have from Brian Graham regarding the issues of the supplemental memo concerning compensation for township board members attending non-township board meetings, which is the general meetings, the ambulance boards, and so on and so forth that people go to and get paid for it. The next paragraph, it says, please consider this memo supplemental to the memo I sent you yesterday concerning the compensation for board members attending. I don't see any letter in the package here that even gives that original memo. There's no copy of it in this package. I'd love to know what that said and why a subsequent one was actually written. A subsequent memo. I know you have a copy of that somewhere. I think that should be public in the package and discussed.
And I think it should have been in all board packets.
It should have been. And it's not.
Oh, sure. Yeah, sure. It really doesn't say anything, that's.
Well, it does say there was a prior letter, Ed, and that prior letter does, there was it was a necessity to write a second memo. So apparently there was confusion on what was supposed to be done. That's all I have for the board today. I'd like to see that.
I think he's digging it out for you.
What's that?
I think he's digging it out for you.
For all of us.
Yep.
Thank you.
Great. Or do you want to wait? Let's wait until.
A couple of weeks ago, I brought in an estimate and some bids for the dressing room on the stage down there and asked for it to be put on the agenda this for today's meeting. It wasn't done, I don't understand why.
Is it a capital improvement? When you,
Well, that's
when you,
not my decision to make, you'd have to make that decision.
okay, well,
But it was supposed to be put on the agenda, whether it goes for capital improvement or not, it's put on the agenda. And then if you wanna send it to the planning commission, you do that.
you brought it to this board's attention previously, and you were, as a capital improvement, were asked to take it to the planning commission and to be put into their capital improvements plan.
So why wasn't it put on the agenda for today?
Because the capital improvement would come up through the planning commission.
Did we then send it to the planning commission? Okay. So he wants to know why we didn't do it.
You didn't follow the procedure. Here's a copy of it. It's up to the VFW, that belongs to the VFW, with Walter report. I'm done.
We've all been fired.
That's it. You missed that, Ed.
No, actually,
Oh,
I didn't miss it. It doesn't say anything we didn't already know. So that's why I didn't put it in there,
Oh,
because
no.
there's no problem with people getting it though, but, yeah. But it doesn't say anything we didn't already know.
I think everybody here's got one.
Nancy didn't have one, did she?
Yes.
Oh, she's got one, okay.
How about that? I'm gonna give it to you.
I have to give one, where's Vanessa? Oh, there she is. Where's yours, Vanessa?
Thank you.
Mhm. As you can see, it doesn't really answer the question that we ask, and it really,
This is,
is irrelevant to the issue that we have.
this, the summary just supported everything that Michigan Township's told us also.
Yeah. So that's why I didn't include it, because it really didn't give us anything new.
Leave a tree. Basically what it is there was a question on whether or not board members, we have boards outside of this board. We have an airport board, a ambulance board, a fire department board, and a planning commission that our board members sit on, and we compensate those board members that represent Briley Township. Now, normally on these boards, we have citizen board members, and we have usually one township board member that goes to these boards also. In the past, there's been some confusion on whether or not all the township board members get compensated for those meetings, or is it part of their salary? It's come to our attention that, you know, if once, as we sit here, we're all trustees. We have some with extra added duties, but when we sit here and we vote, and when we're outside of here, we're all trustees and we're all equal. That being said, when we sit on these board meetings, if we pay members at large or the citizens at large, then we are no more than a citizen at large also on those meetings. And we should be compensated also. The way the board has functioned in the past is the trustees were compensated sometimes and sometimes not. And it was confusing to me because I was not always compensated. And they thought because I was a supervisor or he's the clerk, we're not trustees. So we were not compensated. We didn't seek compensation for it. I thought it was part of my duties. But it was brought to our attention because the board passed a vote to say that nobody from this board was going to be compensated for those meetings because of the pay and the salaries that we get. Come to find out that that is not something that we can do. If we compensate the other ones, we must compensate all. So the question came up with was how, if we haven't been compensating them legally, how far back do we have to go to reimburse the people that have been going to these meetings and not being compensated? So basically the first memorandum was, we knew, well, we didn't know. We had indications from Michigan Township from 2 different attorneys there that yes, all the board members needed to be compensated and not just the 2 trustees. Because in the verbiage it says trustees, but basically we're all trustees. It is the way Michigan Townships put it, and that's the way the attorney did it here. The second portion was how far back, and the statute is 6 years. So we'll have to go back 6 years and find out which board members were compensated for which meetings and which ones they weren't. And even if they've passed away, their estates should have credited that money. So, just to let you know that this wasn't something that we wanted to do. It was, as we find out what's right and proper, that's what we ended up with.
Okay. Okay, I found that out from the MTA a long time ago, okay? And when I became a board member, was elected in 2016, I was paid the $30, which several months ago you changed to $40, but I was paid, and this board didn't act on it, so it was policy to pay trustees. Now, people can opt out. 4 of you opted out. I did not, because I work at those meetings and I prep for those meetings, okay? So I said no to that, because I'd already looked into law, because you stopped paying me at the end of September, okay? But you can opt out before you opted out. You said you didn't want to be paid for those meetings. I did not say that.
I asked about the opting out, and I don't believe that that's a possibility. That's an option.
Not an option.
Well, I need
Well,
to
I
see
guess since
that
we're
in writing.
I guess since we're talking about this, I might as well make a motion that we pay
I
per
think we should
diems.
stick to the agenda.
Huh?
I think we need
Yeah,
to stick to
Well,
the
okay, then we
agenda.
shouldn't talk about this anymore.
Okay. So anyway, I had to say it because it raised a lot of questions and people didn't see
Yeah, I
what
would
that
get that in
memorandum
writing
was
from
about. But that
MTA
was,
if they can opt
Trying
out
to
or
get the
not.
financial.
that was our legal department looking into it to find out
Thank you.
all of those, all that information. So, we'll get back to the agenda.
Which, as you said, you already knew from the MTA exchanges and you had all the information.
Okay, we're done with public comment. Financial report. Treasurer Freeman.
In the general fund, this $323,794.05. That includes the money market and the credit union community financial CD. In the water fund, it is $50,449.18, and that includes the money market. In the road fund, there's $327,370.66, and that includes the money market. In the tax fund, there is $165,165.01. And then the dock fund remains the same at $9,791.14.
We moved the dock fund out of this financial, I've been saying this for months and months and months.
They keep
Way
sending
back
bank
when Bonnie was
statements.
still here, that fund was moved into the broader park project fund. But it keeps showing up on the financials.
For the sake of clarity, the money markets, why are there money markets in these funds?
Because they get
It's a
more
test.
interest.
It's a test, thank you very much.
Because they get more interest than regular savings
Savings,
accounts.
yeah. And then the CD and the general fund for the community financial was the one that was set aside for the guys' monies if they
For severance.
quit or whatever, yeah.
The money markets
And-
right now are making 0.65% at Alpena, Alcona, and the savings accounts are making 0.15. So there's a 0.5% difference, which amounts to around $2,500 a year. So we're getting that much additional money because of those money markets.
Understood, I just wanted,
It was a test.
well, there's some new people here.
So is it received and filed?
Okay, yeah, I'll move to receive and file the treasurer's report.
It's a move?
I move.
Okay, I'll second it then.
Okay, motion and a second to receive and file the treasurer's report. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No,
Motion passed 4-1. Okay, we got motion to approve the minutes from the regular August 19th meeting and the special August 18th, August 20th.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Is there support?
Maybe.
Where did we go? Sorry, I was making a note.
Minutes, approved minutes.
On second.
Motion and a second to approve both sets of minutes. Everybody wants time to take a look at them, scrutinize them.
I don't have one. I have the 28th, I don't have the, is it,
19?
yeah.
Any discussion on the minutes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passed.
Okay, I'll make the motion to pay the bills.
A second.
I had one question.
Motion and a second to pay the bills in the amount of $92,496.29.
Yeah, when I first saw that, I did a real double take, then I saw.
I know. Well, I
It's
just,
usually, every time I look at one of these, the fuel man, that is always up there. I mean, it's been over $400 the past couple months, and it's another $222. Is the township really going through that much fuel? Because the story I got was they were filling barrels, that way they didn't have to keep running back and forth. I mean, it seems like a lot of fuel.
Well, then what we'll do is we'll invite Eric to our next meeting and he can justify that or.
Has anybody actually tracked how much fuel this township uses in any given month?
Not except Eric.
yeah, it'd be good to track
Nobody
it
on the
though.
board.
a couple of times it was 700 some bucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do it.
And that should be barrel filling,
Why not?
but we don't do it all the time.
No, and that's the whole thing, to still see a couple $100 when they've already filled the barrels.
Yep.
There's no way they should have consumed that amount of fuel in that short span.
We'll invite Eric to the next meeting and he can tell us why that is or isn't.
Even without, I'm just saying, I've got a truck similar, I'll go through $100 easily in a couple weeks.
They're not, shouldn't be going all that far with the truck, I mean, right around the driveway.
Well, we got tractors are little tractors. I have a little tractor, you could drive that thing all day on a couple gallons of gas.
Right.
Easily.
Yeah, well,
And
yeah, we can look into it.
Half a tank, sometimes I can be out there for 3/4 of a day. Doesn't burn much fuel at all. But anyway,
It's
it's gonna be looked into, correct?
Who's gonna look into this?
I'm gonna invite him to the next meeting.
Kids, all right, we'll get him explained a few things.
All right.
We have Frontier on here twice.
I believe she mentioned that the billing didn't come the first time until after the last.
Okay.
And
It's
one
2
was,
months.
one might have been a final bill also. Because we,
And we need to do a better job with the things Mr. Lamore pointed out too. And then there's another issue that I'll ask this board about specifically at another time.
Well, the ones for the wellhead, for the alarm.
Okay.
But the bills should be identifiable for this board and the people. They need to know what we're spending the taxpayer money on. We all deserve to know that.
Well, it says wellhead,
That one says wellhead, there's
and then the
under,
other one's just the township.
almost 70.
well, the township, credit card typically was used just by Eric and Harley if something broke and they needed to get a part, like
I
at
thought we were
Freddy's.
talking about Frontier, sorry.
No, I was talking about the credit card expenditures that are
Oh,
unidentified, as Mr. Lamore pointed out. People need to know how we're spending taxpayer money here. They have a right to know, as does this board.
Just let everybody know that the amount was a little extreme because almost 70,000 of it was for Metzger Gerber Road construction that was approved in that also.
And that's covered in our road millage that you people pass.
Which they've been working on for a while and it looks like they're doing a good job. Hopefully everything will be up to spec when they're done.
Looks like they're making progress.
Yeah. All right. Motion and a second to
Approve the
add
bills.
accounts payables where we're at.
Okay, Kaiser,
No, too many questions.
Klein,
No, until the question on fuel is answered.
Supervisor,
Yes.
Clerk, yes. Treasurer,
Yes.
Okay. Motion passed. Okay, now we're into new business. Somebody wants to talk about the park attendant and the season.
I can comment on that. Lots of years, it stays nice well into November so that people can use the park. And it has been Eric's policy to automatically shut everything down and lock everything up on October 15th. But I don't think that's quite fair to the people that want to use the park. It doesn't have to be automatically closed if the weather's nice and nothing's gonna freeze up in October or early November. I don't see why we would have to automatically shut things down on people on October 15th.
well, what day do you think's good?
Well, I think that we can leave it open as long as the weather's nice, and we really can't put a date on that. When it starts snowing and freezing, I think that the park is probably not gonna be used if there's snow and we have to worry about the stuff freezing up. Okay, and that was that's why we shut off the water and closed that building, is freezing. So I'm thinking
And
we
you
can.
still have events coming, you have Outfest coming. After we had the potluck in the park the other day, we were talking about another event that's gonna use the park. If the weather's nice, there's shouldn't be any worry about it right now.
So we're gonna leave it to, we can leave it to Eric if you want to, when he thinks that the restrooms
No, it
are.
belongs to this board.
He automatically does that October 15th, and as people have experienced, the weather it isn't necessary to close it that early on people, and we have
You
people
have
who
a
wanna use
question
it.
from your park attendant.
How long
Okay,
does it take
so
to
we
memorize it?
can tell when the snow flies and it's freezing and the pipes are in
We'll even
jeopardy,
have a motion.
then we can drain them and close the park down.
Who's gonna
But I-
decide that?
Well, we can, as a board, we have a meeting every month.
So every time it
Jay,
gets- so
Jay's
every time
there
it
every
gets-
day.
So every time it gets cold, we have a special meeting to find out if we
Oh,
should
no,
close it or
That's not
not?
what she said.
No.
Okay,
Tell me what she's saying.
can
All
I
right.
make a motion here
Yeah.
before we discuss?
Let's do it.
Can I make a motion that we table this discussion? I don't think we're gonna be closing it until after
No, we aren't.
October 15th or our next meeting. So we can take a look at and get with everybody between now and then, and we can come up with a time.
And then we'll get Jay's input on that,
So
because he'll be there when it's ready.
refer this
And that can be another thing we ask Eric when we bring him.
to the October meeting.
Yeah.
How long it takes.
But I
to
know what he's
interact
gonna
with.
say, because that's what he's always said for umpteen billion years. It's October 15th, he's gonna drain the pipes. That's been going on year after year after year since forever. And I don't think it's right, and I don't think it's fair to the people that wanna use it, and we have people right here today that would like to use it as long as they can. It's their park, and I think they should be allowed to. So, we don't have to have special meetings or anything like that. We can rely on our common sense there, and the people's common sense. They know when it's gonna freeze up, we gotta drain the pipes.
Did you get a second on his motion?
Hmm?
Did you get a second on your motion to discuss?
You wanna table it till
To
next
table it
month,
Till next.
and we'll see what the weather might be.
Okay, Mary second.
Okay.
Hopefully it'll be nice for a long time, and people can use the park longer,
The re-
and have bathrooms.
The only thing I can see other than that is the water fountain, which is above ground, could freeze. So,
That's easily taken care of with a valve. There's one
Yep.
valve and you can drain it.
understood.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they probably try to do it all at once, but that's the only thing that I could see that could be if it froze overnight. But
Okay,
anyway,
the discussion is on when we lay off the park attendant.
Go to and water
I-
the flowers. When is your cutoff date
Jay
for
wants
watering
to
the
say
flowers?
something.
You do have your park attendant trying to answer questions here.
Yeah, and see, I think we should keep him on as park attendant, and as long as the weather's nice. Okay? And he can take care of the fountain, and we just use our common sense there, and when it gets cold enough to, where we have to worry about pipe freezing or something, then we'll close the bathrooms. All right, Jay, if that's all right with the chair, Jay would like to give us some input since he works down there.
yeah, do you think we should close it before the next October meeting?
No, it's got a full furnace in it.
Oh, that's what so we're not,
And we open it for rally
we're not even.
in the middle of winter
discussing.
in January. So I don't.
Okay, so so you want to table the closing and table the layoff, both?
Yes.
We'll just table it till October,
The reason
and
why it is closed is because I do know that it
then
costs
maybe table it to
approximately,
November.
they looked at it and it costs approximately $600 to keep it
What are
warm
those
through the
two you
winter.
just said you were
That's at
tabling?
minimum, so the water doesn't freeze.
Yeah.
And
The
then if you
layout
wanna
of the
use
park
it, it goes
attendant.
way up above that, because it's block
And
and
when
it
to
has
close the
no
pavilion.
insulation.
Well, it was also used for skating very cost effectively because wood was donated and kindling was donated. We used the furnace and we keep the heat way down in there because the people didn't mind coming in and sitting by the fireplace. So it can be, you can keep it open as long as you want really and keep the costs down. However, at that time, since somebody was trying to get rid of skating, somebody would go in and crank the heat up, and then somebody would go and turn the heat down so they could use the building and keep it cost effective. That did happen. But, so let's table when to lay off the park attendant and that whole
That's what his motion
shutdown
is.
thing. Okay, let's do that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Okay. Open a restroom for trick
Yeah,
or
well, we don't have to
treat.
worry
We
about
have to
that
worry
now.
about it now.
Okay,
That's,
so,
Gone away.
okay, so we're talking about at the park.
yeah.
Okay, good. What about date and time for trick or treating? Do you wanna set that now, or do you want to wait until October? Because I don't think it's gonna change between now and next year.
I don't think we have to do anything with that.
You formally have to set a date and time for trick or treating.
October 31st,
Okay,
from 5 to 9.
October 31st.
31st, 5 to 9
Mhm.
5 to 9.
for trick or treating. Who made that motion?
What Bruno did. I'll second him.
Okay.
Or Mary did, she
No,
said 5 to 9.
I'll
Mary
take it.
did.
Huh?
Mary
Doesn't
did, she
matter-
said 5 to
It doesn't
9.
matter if it gets done, who cares?
That's right.
Well, you can do it next month, because we'll want it in the paper again.
That's true.
We'll change it.
Hey guys, last year Halloween was 5 to 8, and there was nobody anywhere on the streets at 8 o'clock. Nowhere.
It was
And
done.
you're trying to extend it another hour for what purpose?
And I had over 100 kids at my house, so
Well, that's your
it's.
house, that's not
I
the
know,
streets.
well, they still go to Freddy's and they go to BP, so I'm right across the
What's that got to do with the
road.
general population of extending it when nobody's around? at
That's
8
why I
o'clock?
said it went till 9 o'clock, because there were people there.
Well, it
We
might
were
bring,
taking-
it might bring business to our community from other towns if they stop at 8 o'clock.
Well, they're here.
Let's vote.
And sometimes people don't get started until after 6, way after 6 with their kids, because they don't get home from work until then, so.
Let's vote.
If you run out of candy, just turn your light off.
All those in favor of October 31st, 5 o'clock to 9 PM?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passed. Okay, we're back down to the per diems that we discussed about earlier. The per diems are the meeting pay.
Okay, I'll get a email from MTA, because it doesn't cost anything, we already paid for membership there, as to whether board members can opt out or not, because 4 members did. And I'll give them that question and ask for the MCL on that. Alrighty? That's information we need to know in writing.
Okay,
Alrighty?
I move that we pay per diems back to January 1st, 2013.
is there support? I'll support for the sake of discussion.
I think this is gonna end up being a big waste of money.
I don't see where it's a waste, where some people actually went to these things, were supposed to get paid, and aren't sitting on this board and don't have the option of even having a say-so. And they would do the money.
You guys opted me out, and I was paid from the get-go, meaning and you were the trustee before me. So it was policy in the previous board, that's 2012 to 2016, to pay trustees
Yep, and we're gonna
for
look at
Have you
serving on the
looked at
board.
your own case as far as non-payment?
I got paid for some, but not all.
Do you have an estimated number of what you think is owed to you?
No, but I don't think it's much for me. It's the other ones that went to the meetings that got zero pay. Because I was a
This would-
trustee.
This would include back to Bonnie, and it would include Mike Wordsmith and Anna Rogers, and of course it would include Mary Jo. It would go back and include quite a few people. And Nancy makes the point very well that she's been paid all along, and therefore it's fair that everybody else get paid all along too.
You quit paying me last
Yeah, but you're gonna get
October.
paid now.
The last September was the last time you paid me, because 4 of you voted to opt out, and you opted me out, which you cannot do lawfully. So, from
Is it
October
lawful to
forward,
opt
I
out?
said I
Exactly,
needed
why
my
don't you
pay.
catch everybody up?
Yeah, we found out that we can't do it. It was just
And 6 years is
bad practice in the past, made a lot of confusion coming into it now.
And nothing in these
We looked
writings
into
say you
it.
cannot opt out, that's why I'm asking MTA. Because you did opt out. And I don't know what went on before, but you were paid as a trustee, because that was the previous board's policy.
It's saving the
Well,
township
but-
money, it's saving the township money by opting out.
You have to pay
You're
taxes.
saving a lot of money to the township if you opt out. I don't
That's-
understand why you
that's the
can't
issue.
opt out.
Well,
Because
I
we
will
have to
ask
pay
MTA
taxes
if
on
we
it.
can opt out,
Then
but
it
I'm
would
not. I work very
Oh,
hard
they
at my
want their
meetings.
tax money on it.
Well, it's, I don't know if that's the case or not. It's about being fair and equitable to everybody.
and we were told we couldn't opt out.
Where did it say that? I had not seen this in any of these writings, any of it. but I will ask MTA that specific question.
I'd imagine it'd have to be a personal choice, and if somebody's opted out, I don't think they should be allowed to opt back in just because there's a payoff coming.
I did never opt out.
How does
And
that know?
I deserve to be paid for these meetings, I never miss them. And I work hard at them, and I prepare for them,
Oh, I'm not doubting
and I
that.
work at them.
No, I'm not doubting that, but what I'm saying is, I was one of the, it was when I became a new board member, you know, I remember voting out per diems. I'm not gonna opt back in just because there's a chance that I can get $40 for the past 7-8 months. I would rather see the people save the money.
I don't believe that as individuals, we can make board policy. It's the board's policy to vote on whether trustees are paid or not paid, and, or any of those board members are paid.
No,
I don't
state law,
think-
you pay people fairly. You pay others, you pay us, unless, of course, we opt out. The question is, can we opt out? And I'm gonna ask that question, okay? That's where we're at with it. Is we need to know if you folks can opt out, because you opted out. I did not. I worked very hard at the boards I'm on.
So you opted out thinking that it was legal, but you never verified that it was legal. And now that there's a possible Briley Township was the bank for you for a year, or 6 years as you're going back, then you're ready to hop back in. That just doesn't seem right. I think I would rather see my board say from this date forward, we want to change this back to what it should have been, rather than say go back 6 years.
And what do we do about the deceased people that their estates were due money that we didn't?
I don't believe there are deceased people that were owed money because those monies were paid while that person was alive.
No, they weren't.
Yes,
Not
it
to
was.
Bonnie.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't.
Well,
Okay.
we can
well,
do yes, no, yes, no, yes, no.
I'm gonna
There's
bring
one
it back.
detail we need to get here, but I
I'm
did
gonna bring
not
it
opt
back. It
out,
has-
so you
it
owe me
has to be
since
one
last
or the other.
October.
I don't believe,
120, right?
Nancy, you can look and see, but
They understand that?
it's going to be an individual, because not all the board members made all the meetings. We're gonna have to look at each set of minutes for each of those board meetings.
I don't know how you can verify going back 6 years, who went to what?
Because the minutes are kept at every meeting, and it's all the
We had one
attendance.
meeting out here in the street.
Yeah,
There's
I
minutes
can
kept.
verify
I'd
all
like to
mine,
know
good
how
minutes
Ed
that was
knows
there,
They have to stop.
so I'm
The board
verifiable.
hasn't answered,
And I
I
go back
think, a
back.
very pertinent question,
Okay.
That's the
which
problem
is
last time.
how Mr.
I can
Coomer
verify
All
all
knows.
in
the
favor, I
minutes
got
Nancy?
from the
it back
airport
under
board.
control.
I
Nancy?
have them.
Okay, all in favor?
All in
How does
favor?
Mr.
Wait,
Coomer
I don't
know?
even know what we're voting on.
What?
How does Mr. Coomer know that you cannot opt out? He said you can't, I just wondered if you had some documentation to show that.
I don't have any act.
You
That's what
don't,
I'm gonna
but
ask
Mr.
But
MTA.
it's
said
Mr.
it.
Coomer.
I'm with Rick, what do we,
We're voting on whether or not we
Ask the pertinent
start
question,
paying
you
per
don't get an
diems to
answer.
everybody effective January 1st, 2013.
we
I'm
can't
not
do
going
that
back to
until we find out for
2013.
sure if we can do that.
Well, we know we can do
did.
that because we have because we have this.
It
Okay.
says that you
6
can go
years.
back
And
6
every
years.
person that had been to a meeting can sue the township for their $30.
But we have to see if they even went to the meetings.
Well, that's what we're gonna do.
We're gonna go back, we're gonna go through the records, we're going to make sure that everybody was paid
And
for
where is
every
the
meeting.
documentation that says you legally cannot
I'm
opt
sorry,
out?
can you please stop disrupting the meeting?
Only because you don't want to answer.
This isn't the time for questions from the audience,
Well, it is.
It is.
public comment.
Did you have another question?
No, I don't,
Okay,
you're good, go ahead. Do what you gotta do. I'm good.
It's not like we're spending money, we don't even have a choice on this matter. We can have a roll call vote though. I suggest it.
Roll call.
okay.
I
Roll
think we have a
call
budget
on,
for.
Point of
we have
order,
a budget
Mr.
for it before we
Supervisor.
can spend it.
You're voting on something that you're calling a per diem. It's not really a per diem. Even your attorney calls it a non-township board meeting.
now,
per
you're not
diem is-
supposed to talk at these meetings, so this is a
I said
warning.
point
and
of
if you
order,
start-
Ed.
And if you start again, I'm going to ask the deputy
Well,
to
where is
remove
the
you.
deputy?
And I'm gonna do that for
Oh,
anybody
I just-
else too,
you know
because
what?
they've been talking
I'll be
right
heard
along
and I'll
too
leave.
much.
Aren't you supposed to be going?
I'll
to
be
the
here,
supervisor?
heard, and I'll be leaving as soon as I walk out of here. A per diem is what you get paid for one day's work on food and things that you're reimbursed for. What the attorney calls it and what everybody else calls it is a non-township board meeting. That's what you're talking about. You're not talking about per diems. So if
Exactly,
you're gonna write something, write it correctly.
Okay,
And
now
that's
you can,
not what you're voting on.
exactly.
You want me to leave, Ed?
It is
Yeah.
what, Phil, it is what.
That's my
I don't want
warning.
anybody else
Whoa,
to
whoa, whoa.
leave the talk.
You have to
That's
give
the
me a
warning.
warning before you kick me
I
out.
just did.
Phil, they are per diems, they are paid,
No,
the
they're
per
not.
diems are paid
Per
for these
meeting.
extra. Per
They're not
meeting.
per diems, Ed.
Consider this a warning for everybody that the next person that talks, I'm gonna ask the deputy to remove.
That power.
Okay, go ahead.
Now you don't have that power.
These
You're
are,
not the boss here. This is the board, everyone's
these are
equal
per
at this board.
diems. Per diems are separate pays for specific things that a township board member can do outside of their salary, their set salary for the annual salary.
There's
So
no
it's-
need to banter about that, there's a motion, and
I'm not bantering,
what is it then? We've been
I'm
through it.
trying to explain to the public.
They understand that, they know the difference. They're intelligent.
I'm glad you can speak for all of them.
Okay,
At least someone does.
we'll have no more questions from the audience since you guys know it all.
Well, we can't, you're
Okay.
constantly assuming people do not know about these things, they
Okay,
worked in many
we,
places as
Can
well.
we have our vote now?
They're per diems,
Yeah, per diems. You want a roll call on this?
please.
Okay, Kaiser,
No, I'm not going back 13 years.
okay, Klein,
No, I think this is financially irresponsible.
Wojcik,
Yes, it's legally responsible.
Comer, yes. Freeman?
No.
No, okay. Then how far back you wanna go?
I don't know.
I mean, I was just
Yeah,
ready
that's
for,
right, for 2013.
I mean, we have to go back to some time or other.
I don't think you
I
can
don't
go
think we-
back farther than this elected, and this was never asked
You know,
for
I don't
me
even
either.
think we need to vote on this.
During this
Because we don't
board's
have an
term,
If it's not an option, it's not an option.
I don't believe you have an option. If you're, these people are owed the money.
excuse me,
Okay,
I
so
never
you
heard
wanna
the
refer
question
this to
asked,
legal
and I
to find
asked
out
it
if-
last time.
Refer it to legal.
Or at least MTA.
Okay,
I don't even think you need to vote because these people are due their money.
excuse me. All right. I asked at the last
Will they
meeting
have a thing on here?
that we get this in writing.
You got it.
Well, you didn't ask if we could go back beyond the term of this board. That's 2016 is when this
Yes.
board was empowered.
That-
And
So is your
there's
motion to
no
go back to
specific
2016?
Well, it's better than 2013.
Okay, is that, you making a motion for 2016?
I'm not sure, but I know, I know I haven't got an answer to, whether you can go back farther than your elected term to do other people's, because then you're making decisions for a board that is no longer in service, see what I mean?
I don't think it'd be smart to vote on anything right now until you actually have the questions answered.
Okay, we'll refer to, everybody wanna refer to legal then?
I'll ask
All
MTA my
personal actions
questions,
shall be
but
commenced within the period of 6 years after the claims accrue and not afterwards unless the different period it states in the statutes.
Okay, what's the question you want me to refer to legal?
okay, can board members opt out? Can they, because some board members have served many terms, so that might apply to them, but no one asked a specific question, can we go back farther than the term of this presently elected board? We need to know that, because it seems rather difficult, because then we're making decisions for a previous board as to whom to pay, and they made those decisions in their time frame. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, but from my understanding from all of the conversations I've had with all of the MTA attorneys and from what I'm reading here, the township board members individually do not have that option. We do it collectively as a board, we either pay them or we do not pay them. Once they're paid, everybody's paid, or nobody's paid, is what I'm getting from everybody.
Well, if this board pays others, then you pay the board member that attends them. That's that, simply put. But there are still questions out there, because some of you opted out. okay? And,
My problem is voting on
What I'm
something
tr-
that there's
what
not
I
even a
just said
head
is
count
you
of how many
cannot
people.
individually opt out. The board has to either collectively pay these positions or not pay the positions.
Right, but we don't even have a head count of how many people there would be, and we don't even have a dollar figure. So how do you approve something like that if you can't, if you have no idea what you're
You're
doing?
right, but
I'm
if
gonna
it's
approve to
under
pay
ready-
everybody in Briley Township $100 per diem because they came down to the park for a potluck.
I don't know
You
why
guys
we're
okay
talking-
with that?
I don't
Because
know
I don't
why
know
we're
what the
talking
head
about
count
this.
was.
Three
Referring to
times.
legal.
I mean,
well,
Refers to
okay,
legal.
let's reel it
Is there
in
a
here.
motion to refer to?
Let's reel it
Here,
in
let me
here.
read to you what you want referred to legal. Can board members opt out of being paid for the meetings, and can we go back further than the 2016 election, when this board took office? That's
Correct.
what you want to ask.
Yes,
Answer,
please.
right?
Yes,
Okay,
please.
okay, that'll be done. I don't think we have to discuss this anymore.
I would say that before we come back with this stuff, that there needs to be some kind of accuracy given to an actual dollar amount on how much this is gonna cost the people of the township.
Yeah, because we can't even vote on that until we appropriate funds for it. We have to make the budget adjustment before we can vote on this. That's also.
And not at the
necessary.
table preferably.
Right,
Okay, now.
Okay, so we
I'm
need
gonna
to
send that
do more
legal. Now,
work
the
there.
next thing is, we found out, much to my chagrin, and I think Bruno's too, because I've talked to him about this, that when we passed our marijuana ordinance
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
saying that there would be a vote on this
Did we
by the
vote to send that to
people
legal?
at the next election,
No, we didn't.
what?
We didn't vote to send that to legal. The motion got made, there was discussion, but
Oh, you mean
There was
board
no
members
vote.
opt out and stuff?
yeah,
Oh, okay, fine. You wanna make that motion?
it's already been made and seconded.
Okay, let's vote.
aye.
Who made the motion and who seconded it?
Ed asked me to make a motion a long
Okay,
time
and he
ago.
was writing it, I didn't hear support.
I'll support it.
Okay,
Okay.
there you go.
All right, so we have a motion and second.
This is a roll call, right?
Yeah, you're spending money.
Spending money, sending
Okay.
more questions to legal.
I thought we were taking it down.
I'll take it to MPA first, and I'll get an email back from them, see what they said, and I'll bring it in to everybody.
I was gonna ask you
Good.
first.
Okay,
Okay, roll call. Kaiser,
yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Supervisor,
Yes.
Quirk, yes. Freeman, okay.
Good, motion passed.
All right,
Now we can move on to the marijuana
Okay,
referendum.
we found out that our ordinance saying that we were gonna let the people vote on this at the next election was not, I don't know what you wanna call it, was not valid. That the only way this marijuana thing can get voted on by the people is by a,
It's by petition.
yep, that's what I'm trying to say, is by petition. And we have to have an ordinance written, a written ordinance. And then we have to have 5% of the vote for in the last gubernatorial election to get this on the ballot. So that means what we have to do is somebody has to write an ordinance that the board can approve of, and it has to be in the petition so people can read it. And then we have to get 45 signatures, because that's 5% of the 900 that voted. So really, we should have about 60 probably, which shouldn't be too hard, I don't think. But anyway, because of this, in fact, when I started talking to our attorney about this, I got bawled out. You can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that. And I said, oh man, I wish I'd called them about this a few months ago. But anyway, that's our situation. So what I want to do is, I want to send a request to legal to have him write an ordinance for us that we can put on the top of petitions so that we can get the signatures we need to get this on the ballot, because we told the people we would do that. There, I got it out.
Our planning commission usually writes our ordinances. Okay? So, and they were directly involved in writing the language for the ordinance that does exist. So, I don't see why we wouldn't trust them to do that at this point, as opposed to paying the lawyer for that.
Basically, in a nutshell, what I got from Ed's discussion with the lawyer was that basically the board itself cannot put it on as a referendum, because it would be a question, an advisory question. And you can't put advisory questions on the ballot. But a citizen's petition is within the statute of the, whatever it is, marijuana tracking, or whatever the newest law is. And the way that gets on the ballot is by a citizen's petition. Now, the petition itself should contain the ordinance itself, which states that you're petitioning for 1, 12, 50, an unlimited amount, this, that. It should state exactly what it is that they want on the ballot.
Bruno, I was asking who's gonna write the ordinance. I don't think it's necessary to have spend all that money on an attorney to write it, when our own planning commission typically writes those and publicizes those.
But basically, it's gotta be a citizen's petition.
Well, but they didn't say, okay, the citizens can still petition. But we're talking about an ordinance here. Somebody writes an ordinance. That's the planning commission's forte. They do the ordinance.
We've written ordinances. We've passed ordinances, nothing to do with the planning commission. And the issue here isn't whether or not the planning commission can write an ordinance, or you can write an ordinance, or I can write an ordinance. The issue is that we already screwed this up once.
Not me, I wouldn't know to do that.
And therefore, I want to make sure that we don't do it again, and therefore, I want the attorney to write the proposed ordinance.
What's wrong with the original ordinance that would have had been in place for the last election?
I have no idea, but I'm not going to, myself, I'm not gonna vote for any kind of ordinance.
Well, we would have had to have an ordinance back then in order to have it on the election ballot, right?
No.
The ordinance was
That was a
written after the
statewide
board.
election.
Oh, afterwards, right.
Yeah.
Why can't we review that existing ordinance already and see if it still applies?
Well, we won't know if it still applies unless the attorney tells us it does.
He didn't even have our ordinance.
I don't like things on an agenda that don't have any supporting documentation to it, because it makes it really hard to understand the direction that everything's trying to go.
Well, that's why I said it's gotta be a citizen's petition.
Right, but if we already have a marijuana ordinance, we could have put it in here, and that way we could have seen if it applies to this situation.
We don't
A
have
citizen did not.
We don't have one?
No,
No, you have to have an ordinance written
We
on a
wrote an
petition.
ordinance.
How does
We
a
have to have
citizen do a
ordinance
petition without an ordinance?
written out before we can, we have to have an ordinance written out to put on the petition so that people can read it before they sign it. And the only way I'm comfortable with doing that is if the attorney writes the ordinance, because I already got burned once by us not doing it right in the first place, and I don't want to get burned a second time.
Basically, if somebody out there writes an ordinance, and it comes in and it's not a legal ordinance, then the whole petition and the vote is useless.
Exactly. So how does a citizen write a petition without the ordinance that the
This is
township
what Ed
has?
and the board here is proposing, is that the township attorneys would assist in writing the petition that could be circulated as our
It could
wanting
be
to get.
available to a citizen for their
Send
petition?
her out.
Okay, we did have an ordinance because I was on the planning commission at the time. And we worked on an ordinance. And we adjusted the zoning law and zoned Mr. McCormick's business out of the Old Town area. Okay? And we did write an ordinance and we did zone for that ordinance. So it does exist. And it's not about the petition, we had an ordinance. And this board did not vote to eliminate it, so it's there. And typically, the planning commission is entrusted to do that, and we have people there that are very good at checking the law.
Okay, this is a roll call, right?
If we have something on the books already, then I think we should look at what we have.
I don't think we got any support for this whatsoever, but I'll make a motion to, since Nancy has her finger on this pretty good, I suggest we let Nancy look into this further and bring back.
Well,
we can
Rick's
get
on the
something
planning
on it.
commission, so we should,
She's gonna write an ordinance?
no.
She says we already have.
She says we already have.
They were preparing one, okay, and they voted on one, and they sold
Dispensaries
one.
of recreational marijuana, we have an ordinance like that?
That's what Nancy said.
She does? Okay.
Well, not for recreational, that we zoned out. We zoned out medical. And so you have to deal with both because you have both facilities.
Yeah,
And then after the fact, we pass recreational.
that was why, my next motion was to ask him to write one for medical marijuana also, so we could vote on both. And since he was writing it, we'd know it was correct. But if other people on the board aren't as concerned about whether it's right or not as I am, then that's fine, it's the board's decision, whatever you wanna do.
That is not the point at all.
Yes, it is the
Other,
point.
other board members are very concerned about having things right.
Yeah,
Mr.
especially,
Klein works on the planning commission also. What I need to do is go see what we have on the books already, Ed, and what they've done in regard to, or what work they may have done on recreational, and what still exists on their work on medical, all right? And that is not about, some of us wanting to be wrong about this or taking us off track. We have a sitting planning commission, and they do that sort of work. So we start with them. That's appropriate.
We have 30 days to look into this before our next meeting, correct? We don't have to do
Correct.
anything.
We have to, there is a timeline to get this on the ballot.
Okay, that's what I'm asking.
And that would
And that
be,
means the petition has to be fully signed and reviewed by the county clerk.
yeah. And what's the date on that? Did you call Cheryl and find the date on that?
So
We don't.
we don't have a time frame.
Well, I'd have to ask the clerk when the referendum
Yeah,
language has to be.
Cheryl will
into the
know.
clerk.
okay, so
anyway-
we're tabling this?
I wanna see what our own
I
planning commission
would,
has.
we did what we could to get it on the ballot. We found out that we as a board cannot get it on the ballot.
That's right.
Well, you didn't even tell us the time frame we have.
We
We don't have any information to do
ballots.
this.
The new ballots come out December 1st. So that means that we have to have it enough in front of that to get the ballots printed, which, if I remember the date exactly, was November 5th, but yeah.
Yeah, I
November
just
5th,
called
but
Cheryl and
but I
find
might
out
be
when the
wrong about
deadline
that,
is.
because I didn't memorize it, because I didn't think it was really a problem. But anyway, it's in November sometime that we have to have the language in.
So we have time, but I'll confirm that with Cheryl Joe Nielsen at the
So we
county.
tabling this?
Well,
There's
I think we
nothing
have
really
time
we
to
can
do
do.
that and see what our own people are doing here.
Absolutely.
We need to respect that group
Can you
and
make
what
a
they're doing.
motion to table?
Well,
Okay,
we let the
second.
public know that they need to do a referendum. If there's an interest out there, they will be actively seeking it, and they'll have something to us if they want our help. We've sat here and graciously offered it. If they don't want our help, they can go on their own. We've done all
Well,
we
and see,
could.
that's not necessary either. If we do not have appropriate, I mean, it's just blowing people off, really, and we don't blow our taxpayers off, that is not appropriate. All we're finding out is where our planning commission's at this. Now, we have plenty of time to go to legal or do something else if we're not comfortable with that, or if the planning commission suggests to us that we should do that. But we don't just say, all right, we tried, you're on your own, to people, that's poor. All
So
right.
as soon
So
as
what are
you
we
find
doing?
out
Are
the
we tabling this,
information,
or we send it
Nancy,
to
and you
the
get it
planning
all
commission, or
compiled,
what are
we
we
can
doing,
pull a
boss?
special.
Well, we could. If we were pinched on time, we could have a special meeting.
As soon as you get all the
But we can
information
go to
you
legal
need.
anytime, it's respectful to go to them first.
So as soon as you get everything compiled, then bring it back and we can pull a
I
special
think
on
the
this.
public knows that
Well,
we're
offering to assist?
I'm working with Rick, he is currently your representative there. I'll work with Rick and his board
I
on
don't know what
that.
else we can do.
And his chair
Is
is
this board?
Mark Edwards, I believe. So we need to work with that board and their chair, but it
Okay,
shouldn't
so
take so
we're just
long, and
leaving
there's
this to
not much
Nancy.
to compile.
Okay, we're going to blight officer down,
All right.
our last thing.
All right.
Great. So that was basically the report.
Okay, thanks for that report. Blade
Hey,
officer.
light officer. Somebody wanna make a motion of some sort?
No,
Okay.
because one, you haven't even said how many applications were collected or who the people on the applications were. So how can anybody make a motion to appoint somebody?
The other issue is this.
There's, again, no supporting documentation in the board packet.
See, the other issue with this position is this. The board that served from 2012 to 2016, because it always happened to the zoning administrator anyway, they voted to combine those jobs. And it has been a combined job ever since they did that in their term, okay? We did not change that. Don Edwards was hired in the same way that Barry and Bonnie and other people served in that capacity. They did both jobs, okay? One person, one pay, zoning and blight. We did not separate those jobs. We would have to change board policy. We would have to vote to do that. We would have to write a policy to have two people doing that instead of one. And all that has been done here.
Identify
Okay,
pay
I
also.
move, I
Well, yeah,
move,
we haven't identified, but Nancy, we have to separate the positions if you're gonna separate positions, but we have to
I
do it.
move that we have Nancy, trustee Kaiser look at those issues and report back to us at the next meeting.
Well, there's no issue to look at, okay?
Well, you
There's
just
one
said there
position.
was.
We have one position there. So, you know, we need to keep it as one position or write some board policy to make it two positions.
Yeah, and that's what we're asking you to look at.
What's to look at? That's a
Well,
And
Don, when you resigned as blight officer, stayed as the zoning administrator, we would have had to have a,
Well,
Right.
he was hired and paid to do both, all right? In fairness to these people, he was hired to do them both, 6,000 and some bucks, okay?
We can't do just one.
in the
Well,
personnel policy, do we
Then
have
all of a
separate job
sudden he says,
descriptions for
find somebody else for blight. Well, we needed to deal with it at that time.
It's not up to him.
No. This board needed to,
well, if that's the case, if he resigned from one, technically he resigned from both.
so we need a zoning and a blight.
Actually,
That's the way
he didn't.
policy
He said
says
he'd
today.
stay as the blight officer until we got a new one. He
There's
didn't
no separation.
resign on a
Well,
certain.
right,
That's
but
right.
the whole thing is if his pay is derived from doing both of those jobs,
Then that's
Right.
the job we're
is there
offering.
anything identified that he's gonna take a pay cut in order to
No.
do that? Because he's gonna have to.
That's what we're gonna have trustee Kaiser look at. That's
There's
my
nothing to
motion,
look
have
at.
her, to have her look at that and report back to us what she thinks is fair to do in this particular situation.
What's fair to do is keep it with the board policy that exists, Ed. The board policy says it is one job.
Good, you can report that to us at the next meeting and we'll vote.
You just got that
If my
report.
motion passes. It hasn't been seconded.
Unfortunately, who does the blight officer technically report to this board,
To
right?
the board.
He's responsible for certain obligations of that job that fall under the purview of the office, right? Which would be the clerk's responsibility.
No, not necessarily, it's the
I think
board's responsibility.
I've asked if there was a job description for a blight officer, and I have not gotten a response.
There is one.
We haven't decided to split the positions.
Well, that's what I want you to report back to us next time on whether you think we should or keep it,
The report
The way it
says,
is.
keep it as one position.
second
Because the
motion.
more employees you have, the more deductibles you pay for each employee. It works as one job. We already pay him mileage and the 6,000 something to do that job.
Okay, the motion is for trustee Kaiser to come back with a report telling whether she thinks that we should split this or whether we should leave it the way it is and we should hire one person for both or we should hire two people. And then she's also supposed to tell us what the salary should be for those two people. That's the motion.
And that is absurd. It is already board policy that it's one job.
I'm sorry you don't wanna do this work.
Oh my good lord, there's no work to be
Yeah,
done.
yeah,
It is
yeah.
existing board policy.
Here,
It is existing
Let's
board
have the vote.
policy, people.
That's a pretty long motion.
yeah, but I don't know what
One
else to
question.
split.
Yeah,
Are
it
you-
should be right in our records room. It is already existing board policy. This is absurd.
If Don Edwards decided that he is not gonna stay on as the blight officer, are we gonna ask him to resign from both then?
Well, he would like to. He would like to, and he gave us reasons for that, but that's not for the public. But he will stay on in those positions until we find another one. Because he also knows he's paid for both positions because it's existing board policy.
We have to end this meeting because Mary's gonna be here till midnight because this is unfortunately the last day for collecting taxes and she got literally hundreds of them. And she has to have them all entered on her computer by midnight tonight. So
Okay.
we either have to vote on this and then adjourn, or we have to do something else, but we can't hold it up
And we can't
any
vote
longer.
on me doing something that is existing board policy. It's right in our policy
Sure
book.
it
The
is, you're
last
gonna
board
recommend
thing.
whether we should have a different board policy or not, that's.
I already
that's what
made my
we're asking you to recommend.
recommendation.
I call point of order and I call for the question.
That's a misuse of parliamentary
I
procedure.
don't think we had a
But you
second.
don't have
Yeah,
a second to your motion because it's absurd. It's already board policy.
For discussion.
Okay. All right.
It's one position, we could have filled it. We have two people that are interested in that position, it's one position
Yeah,
by
it's
board
just
policy, we could
All
have
in
filled it.
favor?
What are we,
We're voting on, having trustee Kaiser look at the various issues surrounding the combination of blight officer and zoning administrator, and then coming back and recommending to us whether she thinks we should have two different ones, or she thinks it should stay the same, if she thinks the salary should change, anything that has to do with how we should solve this issue of blight officer and zoning administrator. That's what we're
And
voting on.
it is existing board policy, look at our board policy.
We can change board policy anytime we want, and we're asking you to make the recommendation to change it
I
or
already
not.
did, I wanna
call point of
follow,
order and I call a question.
All right,
this is
that's-
absurd,
That was the,
this is absurd.
that was your answer.
The answer is, I wanna
Okay.
follow existing board policy, period.
Okay. All in favor?
no.
Aye,
Absolutely not, we
okay.
have board policy in place. Read it.
Okay, I don't think this is going anywhere.
No, it is
I
not.
move we adjourn.
All right.
We're gonna skip board reports.
We didn't have one at the airport, cause we're not meeting until, the 19th.
Okay, let's go through these real fast.
Zoning and planning, we're still repaginating parts of the master plan, not accomplishing a whole lot as far as things we can do right now. Worrying about stuff we could do in 40 or 50 years.
Okay. As supervisor, I did attend a fiscally ready's community training program with the MEDC and the state of Michigan Treasury in Alpena. It was a half-a-day class. Myself and the deputy clerk went, which was really good because it had a lot to do with budgeting and the capital improvement plan and how the two coincide together. So it was very good.
It says,
And we learned a lot.
And then,
Clerk Colbert?
Nothing.
let's see if I can't meet with some of those
Trustee
guys and see
Freeman?
what they got. 'Cause I haven't seen your
It's an
updated
ambulance, they have a,
Mine's 26.
$300,000 grant still pending for new cots and autoloaders for the 12 ambulances. They put out where they were looking for a job description for a supervisor for the ambulance service as well. On the ambulance.
I move we adjourn.
How much does it pay?
Second.
Just kidding. All right, well, meeting adjourned, that's fine. But I did want to put out that Joanne has been working on the cemetery vigilantly and trying to get that caught up. There was a lot of bookkeeping and a lot of paperwork that had been neglected over the years. And she has gotten one section of the cemetery up to date, which has been monumental. It's been going through a lot of records.
Excuse me, Bruno. One, Joanne's not authorized even to be back there for one. It's a HIPAA
Also
violation
now
for
pay
her to
water
be in it.
bills
Do
for-
not interrupt me.
Yeah, I'm gonna interrupt you because we've
it's a
adjourned. We
HIPAA-
have adjourned! You seconded it, don't you get it? When you adjourn, you
All right,
adjourn.
remove him for screaming. Remove him. He has no right to scream at
It's
me.
after the meeting.
Remove
I
him.
can yell at you all I want after the meeting. We have adjourned!
We didn't vote on that.
Yes, we did. You
But
seconded it.
then get out of here. We did not vote on it. All right, here's the problem. Wherever we were before his head is fit and you didn't remove him.
You're not gonna tell me how to do my job, Kaiser.
I didn't tell you.
You were yelling just as much as him. Everyone needs to just grow
No,
up.
no,
This is
no.
ignorant.
I didn't raise my voice until he started screaming when I was trying to talk to
Yes,
Mr.
you
Wolf.
did.
Okay.
This is ridiculous. I'll talk to you outside about my issue.
Good idea. The meeting's over.
About the road
And
commission
really,
report.
I was not screaming at him. He
It's
stood up
all
and started
recorded.
screaming.
all good.
It's right here.
Did you sleep through
Yeah,
it?
and your other recording.
Hey, we seen the work being done.
Does your meetings get out of control?
No.
I'm
the chair at our meetings, and they don't get out
You
of
gotta
it.
have
I can evidence that fact.
Go ahead.
He doesn't believe in that.
Well,
Yeah.
it was
You doing
just
okay?
out of control.
well, I asked you that very night to go vote. And you thought it was easy.
Nope.
And I said there were trail cameras in the park.
Yeah, you're waving at the audience.
Bald head probably showed all kinds of shine.
Find that. It's
Literally going through. all
Okay.
the
Your evidence.
And I did my
clippings,
job.
cutting
There's no
out.
evidence. I'm sorry. That's all I have.
It's
All right.
just,
Well,
I'm not
no.
and I was helping him with that. We're taking out, and you're the postal guy, you wouldn't have had second, so it's way out of his
What?
I got you.
Somebody, yeah, that was, that's fine. Okay. I didn't mean to pat your butt, but, you know, I'll pat your butt. I'm friendly that way. Unless it's Rick.